All right, on this episode of Bare Knuckle Bowker, very excited to be talking to an individual set to headline BKFC 66 and going to be contending for that bantamweight championship on September the 13th as Alberto Blas defends his title against Ryan Reber. And great getting to have Ryan on Bare Knuckle Bowker. How's your day going so far, man?
It's going good, man. Going good.
No, it's awesome, man. And just a well-deserved fight, like a well-matched contest for sure. When did you, I guess, officially get the bout offer coming your way? I mean, it would seem like a lot of people saw you as that next guy to contend for the title, but when did, I guess, the dialogue really officially begin to lock in this main event?
Shoot, I got a phone call. Probably I want to say maybe the beginning of July. Manager called me up and was like, "Got some fight news." I said, "I might know what it is." And yeah, man, he said Blythe main event. Well, I don't even think they said main event. They just said at the Hard Rock. I said, "Bro, let's run it. Let's run it." You know what I mean? It's time. So he said, yeah. And then I didn't hear nothing for like 2 or 3 weeks. And ironically, me and Dave Mundell, we was on Fortnite, and I'm watching BKFC on my phone at the same time, and they made that announcement, man. And bro, I'm gonna shit myself because I didn't know they was gonna make that announcement. So they made the announcement, and I was at a loss for words, man. I was stuck. I was like, and he was at a loss for words because he didn't know he was gonna be on that card either. He thought he was fighting in Spain, which he is now because his fight got scratched. But yeah, so we kind of find out together, like, in a surprise. So it was pretty cool.
Yeah, and I imagine that moment you're talking about just almost being so shocked. I mean, I'd imagine that would partly be informed by this being a thing you've wanted to manifest into reality for so long. I mean, more than 20 years in martial arts in general. I mean, this is a huge kind of capstone achievement sort of moment, right?
Oh man, it's unbelievable. But once again, I don't. It's just another day in the office for me, man. I'm not taking it any more pressure. I take it day by day, man. The only thing we really truly have is the now. The future doesn't exist and the past doesn't exist, man. The only thing we have is really right now what we're doing. So, um, I'm just grateful to be in the position that I'm in, but worked very hard to be here. So, here we are.
Yeah, I mean, well put. I'm sure that focus and that kind of like ever present sort of mindset that you're talking about has informed why you've gotten to 6-0 in BKFC so far.
Yeah, man. I mean, like I said, hard work, and I kind of just seen myself in this position as soon as I signed up for it, man. I hit the ground running, and I remember making a post to David Feldman in the very beginning, and I said, "Look, man, I'm gonna run this shit all the way to the top," and I've done just that. And the next stop is World Championship, and that I will be one.
Yeah, and it's a cool dynamic with this fight too, because it doesn't seem like there's any like contrived beef or anything like that, really. Like it seems like yourself and Alberto Blas have that certain level of respect for each other, which I mean, I imagine that would be the
Well,
case when you have a pair of unbeaten bare knuckle
it's
fighters. Is
it's
that the case though, or?
kinda. I mean, I was in his inbox about 2 weeks before his Keith fight, and I said, "Bro, if you win this fight, I'm coming for that ass." And it was really no talking shit. It was just kind of like, "Hey, I'm coming," and he laughed and reshared it. And come to find out, he beats Keith, and it all came into fruition, man. And he even told me he was gonna fight me. He said, "I'm gonna fight you in the streets, and I'm gonna fight you in the ring." And I'm like, okay, bro. So when I seen him in the back room in Miami, he didn't have too much to say, bro. Yeah, and I didn't know, his character or how he was really gonna be, and I didn't know if he was really gonna try to start taking off on me or push me or swing on me. And yeah, I mean, he seemed to keep it pretty mutual respected, and you know, it's business, man. I got a ton of respect for a dude, but just like he said, it's my time now. He just had his time, and this is my time. Something I worked very hard for. And we'll see. We'll see what the outcome's going to be. But I look at it as me getting my hand raised at the end.
That's
And
interesting. What, like, what? Sorry, go ahead. There's just a bit of
As
a
far
delay.
as the beef goes, I don't really think there's any so-called beef, but at the end of the day, man, I want what he has and he wants to retain what he's got. And in my opinion, he's never really been tested, and he's fought a couple of good guys that could have tested him. Why those things didn't happen, I believe the universe played strongly in his favor for those fights. This one's going to be a little more spiritual. It's going to be a little more energetic. I carry a different kind of energy to me, and I vibrate at a very high frequency, man. And I don't really feel like those last five guys he fought were really on that frequency. And I mean, they very well could have been, but they just weren't. I look at a guy like Danny Alvarez, who he fought, very good fighter, called me out a couple times. We were supposed to fight. I didn't like that matchup for my second fight, so we didn't. And then he had a couple of losses. Now he's, kind of rebounding on his way up. And I know when they fought, I fought on that card as well. And me and Danny spoke to each other. We became pretty good friends. And he told me a lot of bad things that happened the night before that fight. And so I could kind of see why. Plus, he had a bum knee. And then you look at Keith. Keith was the outstanding fighter. I really thought Keith was gonna win that fight. And once again, Keith, I know, lost a really close friend. I think like 15 or 20 years to that exact day. So I think that mentally got to him. I mean, you could tell, like, even during the weigh-ins and the press conference, like, he wasn't there. It doesn't take a fucking psychological genius to figure out that he wasn't there mentally in that fight. And, once again, another easy win for Alberto. What I look to bring to the table is this shit ain't gonna be easy. I know a lot of people look at me like, oh, well, you had problems with Perez or you had this, and a lot of people don't know what was going on with me right before those fights. You know what I mean? And there's always an excuse, or there's always something going on. Yes, but it's how do you mentally surpass that? And I had to take a knee for a second. Perez being super tough, put me in that clench I wasn't really used to from a bigger opponent. And I had to take that knee for a second, and I just remember sitting there and being like, is this the way I want to go out? Is this the way I want to be remembered? And I was able to continue to fight on. And that's the thing about me. I feel like out of all five of Alberto's opponents, they were able to continue to fight on. They just chose not to. Maybe with an exception of Keith and Alvarez, only because Alvarez's knee wouldn't allow him, and Keith's mind, wouldn't allow him. So, like I said, it's not to take anything away from Blas. Very tough, explosive guy, but let me rephrase tough. We don't know that he's tough yet. So, I look to bring that out of him this fight, man, and just make it a fight, bro.
Yeah, and you talk about the spirituality component of everything. I mean, I guess the inference I'm making, and even kind of based off of what you were just saying there, because you have had moments where you've overcame that adversity, which I think a lot of fighters and trainers in the sport really say is like that's what tests the mettle of a fighter, like when they're actually in a fight like
Right.
that. Whereas Blas has kind of had that like one-way traffic kind of path within BKFC
Absolutely.
so far with all the first round finishes. Was that kind of what you were, I guess, touching on there with like the spiritual component and
Well,
everything?
I think too, like, you see the way he prays when he comes into the ring. You see, if you pay attention to any of the stuff he posts, it's God first, God first, God first. Well, I don't use God. I use Yahweh, Yahusha, the Old Testament names. But whatever, you know what I'm saying? Like, we're both spiritual beings. I hold my Yahweh flag before every fight. And I feel like it's super important to know who not only guides but protects you spiritually, because this is spiritual warfare on this earth realm that I do believe we're all so involved with, whether it's your mind, your heart, your body, your soul, all of this stuff, man. I don't believe we're on this earth realm just to come here, pay bills, pay taxes, and then die. I believe you gotta put your energy to a higher dimensional level in order to get out of this earth realm. When your body dies, your body will die, but your energy will never die. It will just change form. So I feel like, even with him, I watch how he moves. I watch, listen to some of the things that he says. I feel like he's a very spiritual being as well, man. So, it's gonna be a spiritual battle as well. So I kind of look forward to that. I kind of look forward to proving myself right on that behalf as well. So, like I say, we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, well said, man. Definitely an interesting way to look at that. And I mean, even kind of like you said, kind of like a microcosm of just life in general. But I feel like I'd be remiss if I didn't touch back on something you were mentioning before, because you said Alberto Blas was intimating that he wanted to fight you in the street, and then you guys had some sort of interaction in Miami that didn't really, result in those on the street fisticuffs. Like, when was this Miami interaction you guys had?
The night he fought Keith, I was there, front row. You know what I'm saying? So I paid very close attention. And after that fight took place, we all went in the back room. They let me go into the conference room. And before we walked in, he walked right by me and kind of looked at me and just kept it moving. You know what I mean? Instead of like, oh, getting in my face or fuck you or this and that. And, another indication was when they asked him about me. And his exact words were, Reber, 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 Reber. He's nothing. He's nothing. He's nothing. That's a good fucking question. But next question, because they asked him what they thought about me being his next opponent. And he kind of just quickly shucked it off and didn't really want to be like, you think I'm nothing, bro? We gonna fuck around and find out come September 13th. And that's really all I gotta say. And I'm gonna let these do the fucking talking. I'm not gonna sit here and I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna do that. It's a fucking fight. You know what I mean? I got asked when I was just out in Vegas, what my game plan was. And, a lot of the times I don't have a game plan, man, because everything's gonna be different. I watch the way my opponent fights, I see some of his tendencies, I see, some of his weaknesses, and then from there I kind of devise the game plan in my head. But everybody's different, man. Everybody's different. And I don't know exactly how he's going to act to this. I mean, he'd be stupid to rush me and think he's just going to run right over me. And shit, God forbid if something like that happened and I had to take another knee or I got put on my ass for a second, I'm going to take the full fucking 8 count. And as long as I'm conscious up here, I'm conscious enough to get up and continue to fight, And I know just as well as and everybody else knows, this bare knuckle game can change in the blink of an eye. You know what I'm saying? So it only really takes one really good punch. So, Keith tried to say in one of the podcasts he was in when they asked them about us, not me and Keith, but me and Blas, he said, Blas may have the power advantage, but I disagree with that because, yes, I may not have shown in 6 fights that I can knock you out cold. But look, my second fight with Rick Russo, I broke his orbital. You know what I'm saying? That's power, man. You know what I mean? To break another man's skull, that's power. With Perez, I think I knocked out a couple of his teeth. I know for a fact I knocked out his front tooth in the first. Oh, hi, baby. Hi. In the first punch that I threw, I knocked his front tooth completely loose, and it was about to fall out. That's where all the blood came out. And a couple days, a couple weeks later, he actually showed a picture of Facebook that he finally got that tooth taken out of his mouth. So, the power's there, man. A lot of people don't really understand that because they're not in those situations. They looked at the situation where I cracked him. They don't know how hard that punch was. Then he grabbed me and started feeding those punches to me. And it was overwhelming for a second, man. And I got a pretty good ring IQ to know that, okay, fuck, it's either get demolished and keep getting demolished or, possibly face cuts or worse or injuries. Take a fucking knee, man. Take a knee, get that second, regather, get up, and, continue to fight. And because I've seen a lot of people, my friend Jafar, man, when he fought Alvin Brito, he got pinned against the ropes, took one too many shots when he should have took a knee. You know what I mean? That's ring IQ. You took that knee, that fight goes on. You know what I mean? But, I'm not saying that he didn't want to be in there, but some people just really don't want to be in there. They go in there, they show up, they get beat up a little bit, and they're like, nah, this ain't for me, bro. I don't really want to be in. Well, let me tell y'all something. This is all I got. This is all I got. This is the last hurrah for me, bro. Boxing, MMA, all that shit sailed on me, bro. This is all I got, so I'm going to put my all into it, and I have put my all into it, and I can't wait to show everybody the results come September 13th.
Yeah, and I'm sure leading into a title bid like this, that work you've gotten in historically with, David Mundell, the BKFC middleweight champion, would pay dividends. And I saw you guys were at that Jake Paul versus Mike Perry fight towards the end of July there. What were your thoughts on all that there?
Um, a lot of the times, man, I don't know what to believe or what to think, man. I don't know how staged the game is. I don't know how rigged it is. I don't know, what goes on behind closed doors. But I do know that boxing is a lot different than bare knuckle fighting. I mean, I had a boxing match, on a 4-day notice that I'm sure a lot of people know about. My opponent knows about it, but I also fought a fucking Olympian on a 4-day notice, and wasn't really training hard. I wasn't doing my mental work. I wasn't doing a lot of the things that I was supposed to be doing. So those results, I couldn't expect great results off of that fight. You know what I mean? I kind of just gave up in the third round. Like, yeah, first off, you don't pay me enough, and I'm not gonna fucking get knocked out by this dude in front of the whole world. So unfortunately, I just I kind of did what I had to do, man, and was like, yeah, I'm good. And he was into a boxing match as well with a caliber of an opponent that was not nearly as good as my opponent. And what did he do? He shot in on the fucking kid twice and took him down. You know better than that, man. Come on. But you know what that shows me? That shows me that he can be frustrated, that you can get up into here. You know what I mean? So we'll see, man. When he gets frustrated, is he going to resort to his normal background of trying to take me down, trying to MMA fight me? Like, and it was crazy because me and Keith were talking about that in each other's inbox right before they fought, and I said, "Yo, you better watch out. He might shoot in on you messing around." And Keith got hit like that and ended up kind of shooting in on him. But that's what happens when you're so used to doing the same thing over and over and over and over and over and over again, and that's all you have in your head. And I mean, look, man, I looked at his tapology, and he's I want to say he was 4-5 or 3-5 in his MMA career, and that's really his bread and butter, man. He's a wrestler. He's a Cuban world-class wrestler, and didn't even make it on his own shit. So obviously he gets into this. He had some talent, some skills, but I'm looking to derail him and send him back to MMA after September 13th, or maybe send him up to a higher weight class. You know what I mean? Because I think these guys do struggle to get down to 135 as well, while I'm over here, basically walking around at that weight. Like, I don't stress to make weight, man. I'm probably, as me and you talk, probably 7-8 pounds out right now. You know what I mean? So, and I'm not killing myself. I'm not starving myself. I'm not dehydrated. I'm none of those things, man. So, those could play a factor in this fight. And like I said, we've never really seen the kid take a fucking punch. And like I mentioned earlier, I've really hurt a lot of the people that I fought, pretty much everybody. The only person I really couldn't put the mitts to was my last opponent due to my hands. So I didn't really bust him up too bad. And Grady, because he fucking cheated and got his way out. But if he would have fucking stayed in that fight with me, and he was taking a nap too for 100%. So, we just have to we just have to see, man. You have to see what happens. But I feel confident, man. I feel very good about this fight. It's definitely a fight that I feel like the universe wanted me to have, because it would have been one thing to fight a guy like Reggie, who was kind of on his way out, and you could tell didn't really care too much anymore, to fighting a guy that's knocking everybody out in the first round. And I said on a post maybe a year and a half ago that I'm in this to become legendary. And what is more legendary than beating up the guy who's knocking everybody out in the first fucking round? A guy that, I don't care who you are, nobody really wants to fight him. You know what I mean? None of those guys in my weight class want to fight him. They all say they'd want to fight him, but do they really want to fight him? And as soon as I heard that, I was like, I was all in. I said, hell yeah. Even my manager kind of seemed like, you sure? Am I sure? 6-0? Because the thing about bare knuckle fighting, man, is it's a risk. You don't want to risk it too much, man. And like, I'll tell you right now, a lot of my previous fights, those were nerve-wracking. Like the last fight I just had, you got to think, man, I had to fly out to Connecticut in a state that I haven't really been to in 15 plus years. The ticket sales, the fact that I was fighting a 1-1 guy that I had everything to lose and nothing to gain, if I won, which I did, I was supposed to beat him. But if I lost, bro, it'd have been done for me, man. I would have had to climb that ladder back to the top again. Another maybe 2 or 3 more fights to get back to this title contention spot. You know what I mean? So it's like those fights to me were way more nerve-wracking than, you know, than any of these other ones. You know, right now I don't have shit to lose, man. What the fuck I gotta lose? I mean, there's my true friends, my true family are gonna give me a shot, but a lot of other people may not, man. They're gonna be like, no, but they did that against Travis. Like, people gotta understand, I fought Travis when I technically only had 2 fights because that Shady fight wasn't even a fucking fight. So I had basically 2 fights when I fought Travis, who had 9 bare knuckle fights at the time. You want to talk about a crazy motherfucker and a nervous motherfucker to fight? Because I knew Travis. Like, I let Travis stay with me for a couple weeks before one of his camps when he fought Diaz. And I knew Travis was crazy. I knew Travis was tough. I knew you had to fucking basically kill Travis to get him out of there. And, you know, I seen Travis after the fight, like, we were talking after the fight and his eyes completely closed. And I'm like, damn, bro, does your hands hurt? And he was like, nah, bro, and starts punching the fucking concrete. I'm like, bro, I can't even believe I just fought this fucking dude. This is crazy. You know what I mean? Like, so, and I mean, and not to mention, even to fight a dude like Shady, like, how fucking crazy that cat was before the fight was just, it was first off uncalled for. But I mean, if it was anybody less, that would have mentally broke them. You know what I mean? Because he's in my face, he's grunting, he's talking about how he was gonna cut me and just acting fucking nuts. But I'm like, bro, that shit is so, like, I can see through it so well. And I mean, I guess a lot of that has to do with all my self knowledge, that, you know, all my research, going down the rabbit hole, shit like that, learning, you know, about this world and all the crazy shit that could be true, may not be true, but you know, all that shit. So I've kind of learned how to judge people's characters and kind of see if they're really about that life or they're not. And I seen bullshit with him, man. So I really didn't care, you know. And it's same thing with Alberto, man. You know, like I said, he's a great fighter. He's super explosive, but just like anybody else, bro, he's beatable. He's 100% beatable. Now, it'd have been a little bit different if he was coming out with like 15 MMA fights. His record was 15-4, and you know what I mean? He was knocking everybody out. I mean, even in his MMA fights, only 1 fight went past the first round. Only 1 fight. You know what I mean? So how is he going to act when he don't take me out in 1 round? We don't know. Nobody's ever seen it. You know what I mean? How is he going to act when I fucking crack him? Nobody knows because we haven't seen it. So that's to me what's exciting about this fight. You know what I mean? It's not like we've seen him get into a war like Keith. That was a fight of the year candidate. You know what I mean? It was more or less of, you know, it just with Keith, I think it was mental, man. To be honest, they get a lot of shit going on mentally. So I'm just excited, man. I'm excited to showcase what I've been working on, and talent, the skill, all of that, man. Just excited.
Yeah, no, understandably so, man. And you were kind of, I guess, touching on it before, just like the differences that the bare knuckle game can bring and stuff like that. And you were even kind of like touching on the pay from the glove boxing fight as well, in a certain regard. Like, that kind of in a way seemed to manifest itself a little bit when that whole thing happened with Sean Strickland, where I think the crux of it was he was talking about, I guess, like BKFC payouts not being great. And then him and Chris Lytle kind of had a spat, and then you posted a meme kind of getting in on that and everything. Like, what were your thoughts on that whole situation where Sean Strickland was kind of talking in a not so flattering way about the, I guess, payouts for BKFC?
I mean, whatever, Sean. Like, I gotta. What was the exact post about? There's so much shit that goes down, I forget. But I remember making a meme about it too. One of my friends did. It shit was hilarious. And now what was the question again?
I guess just yeah, I guess just the thoughts on like his general line of commentary at the time about the BKFC payouts. Because if memory serves, that's what I think the whole thing kind of stemmed from. Like, he was negative about bare knuckle fighting championships payouts ahead of his last UFC fight there earlier in the summer.
I mean, look, man, you look at some of the thing I do agree with is like, okay, me fighting for the belt. I feel like in my mind, the situation I'm in, main event, I should be getting like a way lot more. But I also got to remember where I came from. I got no background. I don't got a huge following. You know what I mean? So for where I'm at and what I'm doing, I'm good with that. But to me, realistically, it ain't even necessarily about the money. It's about the legacy and the people who I'm gonna meet along the journey. You know what I'm saying? I don't plan on getting rich off of fighting bare knuckle, but I do plan on being rich from the people that the bare knuckle pulls me around and introduces me to. I mean, I go to these shows, I meet so many big name people. I mean, I've met David Njoku, I've met Bam Margera, and those are just some of the along the ways of some of the people that I've met. But you'll never know like who you come into contact with. And this dude's a multi-millionaire, owns a business, is in like, hey, I see what you got going on, man. I just wanna, I would like you to come work for my company, or maybe I meet somebody in the sports company that wants me to work for, or whatever. You know what I mean? Or maybe we open a fucking world class gym later on down the road, or whatever. You know what I mean? Like you never know who you're going to meet along the journey. But what I do know is like with me putting all this effort and energy into this, I will get it back in some sort of way, and that's what excites me about it. And that's what I like. So I it could kind of be agreed with, but at the end of the day, man, you fuck Strickland for those comments. You know what I mean? He's not the one in here doing the shit. He's not the one in here, you know, fucking taking bone on bone, man. He just kind of wanted to be an asshole. He thinks he's funny. Some of his shit is funny, but some of it's not. So I don't know, man. We'll have to. I think down the road too. Yeah, it kind of sucks to see a guy like Mike Perry get paid all that money, and when we don't get paid as much. But like I said, I mean, a lot of us don't have followers. They don't have. I don't have a huge following. I don't have. So I get it why they wouldn't pay me, big fucking money right off rip, man. So but I'm making good money, man, and I'm happy with what I got, man. I am. I'm very grateful for the position that I'm in. I'm very grateful that these people finally gave me my shot, man. That's all I wanted. People can look at me or say whatever the fuck they want about me, but they're not the ones that are going to be in there fighting. I am. So it's going to be up to me to go out there and showcase who I am and what I'm about, man. And I'm just looking forward to it, bro. I'm looking forward to finally getting on that big stage and, talking my real shit. Cause I'm not really a shit talker, man, but I will talk real shit. I don't ever really get put in a position to where I don't have a rebuttal for something, man, because like I say, I operate on just such a high frequency and such a high vibration that it's just authentic, man. There's nothing not authentic about me, man, from what I say to what I do to how I do it, man. Like, that's the only thing we have in this world, bro, is to really stay true to ourselves. And a lot of people, they just can't do that. You know what I mean? And maybe certain things you got to fabricate a little bit or kind of talk up a little bit. And that's okay as long as you are putting into motion to do those things and really putting into motion. You know what I mean? A lot of people talk that shit, bro, and they ain't even out here training but once a day or an hour a day or not that long, or, and then they're not doing the other things. A lot of people, focus so much on the physical aspect of training and not enough on the mental aspect of it too, So this camp, I did a lot of different things, man. One of the big things I paid attention to was my gut health, and I've said it on a couple other podcasts, and I'm going to say it on yours. The key limes, the organic salt, the cayenne pepper, and the MCT oil are refined good cooking oil. That shit has changed my life, man. It's called the Master's Cleanse, and stay on top of that, to eat the beef liver capsules, to give my body the copper that it needs. Just a lot of things that I felt like I was deficient in my last camps, and couldn't quite figure it out. You think like, eating clean is like just certain things. It has to do with everything, though, man. You know what I mean? And I've really focused a lot on that. I focused on my mental a lot for this one. I got a mental coach that calls me up pretty much every day, and we visualize things, we go over things. And next week, you know, for fight week, I'm going to do that a lot. You know, so those are a lot of things that I've done differently this fight, man, and I feel way better. I mean, my last fight in Connecticut, I want to say I was only sparring like 5 or 6 rounds. You know, this fight, I'm training for 30 minutes hardcore, and then I'm still getting thrown in the ring and sparring fucking 10 plus rounds. You know what I mean? So being in shape isn't going to be a problem. And like I said, I've honestly, um, I've honestly been able to hover around fight weight and feel good. So it's, you know, I don't have to cut a whole bunch of weight to get down to fight weight, which is another good thing. It's very important. I feel like, you know, my chin will be there, my endurance will be there. So, you know, like I said, man, I'm just excited.
Yeah, no, you seem locked in on all levels, man. And it's been great getting to have you on the show to, talk a bit about this massive title fight you have. So, I mean, big shout out for coming on Bare Knuckle Bowker. But I figured I'd give you the floor in case you had a final parting thought you wanted to add as we're wrapping up, Ryan. I appreciate the time.
Oh no, man. I mean, look, man, you guys want to see a great show? Like I always put on, tune in September 13th. And new. Let's go. It's gonna be so nice, baby.
Yeah, BKFC 66 is going to be a great card. And this Alberto Blas fight, like I said, a great one on September the 13th. Two undefeated bare knuckle fighters going at it for the bantamweight championship. So can't get any better than that. And to reiterate, thanks for coming on Bare Knuckle Bowker and giving some great insights. I'll be peeping the fight when it goes down, man. But until then, you have a good rest of your day. Thank you.
Hey, I appreciate you so much and your time, brother.